As terrible as it was, World War II had to be photographed and filmed for the world to later recall and visualize what the war was all about. Assigned such a mission was the 165th Signal Photo Company. Based in England, its men were tasked to go in harm's way to photograph the European war for posterity. This was no small task, and within this unit alone, at least 2 were killed performing their jobs, and several were wounded. One member of the 165th was Meserlin, and when in France in 1944, he was selected to record the war in photos from a unique vantage point. He was selected to be General Dwight David Eisenhower's personal photographer. From September 1944 on, Al photographed Ike conferring with Allied leaders, conferencing with his generals, directing the defeat of Nazi Germany, and accepting the surrender of the armed forces of the Third Reich on May 7, 1945. Al's photos are those most associated with the historical final phases of the war and have appeared in all the standard text on World War II.
In our outfit were many photographers that were better trained and experienced than I. There were old newspaper photographers, movie men, still men from Hollywood. But I heard a story later on. I have a picture here of a group of us in Paris that, when we took Paris, of celebrating in a room, and all of us were, I shouldn't say drunk, but we were feeling good with champagne. And in walked our CEO, Captain Gallister, I think it was, and the fellow said that he wanted somebody to go with Ike, and he said they picked Al because he was the only one sober. That's the story, but I don't believe it. But Ike was a man's man. I often said, with a smile and a look on his face, he could have been in Hollywood, except for when he did get mad, you darn well knew it. He never asked me to take a picture or pose, or only once or twice he posed for me, and one was at the surrender, and one when he got his 5 stars. But he never bothered me, and I was just like a paparazzi. My camera was in his face, no matter where we went. It was hard to say. Every day would be different, you know, and it was hectic because if I stopped the Jeep or his car and talked or interviewed some soldiers, GIs, and autographs, would get a picture of him photographing and talking to the GI. In the meantime, I'd quick run up and he walked away, get the soldier's hometown, where is he from, and his name, and you'd be hectic because I could be talking to somebody else and you didn't want to miss that picture. In London, one day when I had to fly back some film in, a V-2 or a V-1, a buzz bomb landed about 2 blocks where I was. I was in a Red Cross club, and I landed on my can and ran over and to where the crater was, because I was assigned to shooting pictures of bomb damage and all while I was there in London. But I didn't have my camera and I was sick. And who showed up but Churchill in slippers with his cane? And he was very convivial. He was so friendly with us, I couldn't believe it. He posed with pictures with us, because I said he posed with pictures. I didn't have my camera, but up walked a civilian Air Corps engineer with a camera. And he saw my patch and he said, would you take some pictures? I'd be more than glad to. I knew, because in my mind I know what I was going to do. He wasn't going to see those pictures again. And Churchill posed with us, and the engineer took pictures of me, Churchill with his arm around me and all, and they didn't come out. The pictures I took of him with Churchill came out beautifully. But and I gave him the camera, but I stole the film. I hid the camera in here and took the film out. And I guess he realized it a few days later, and he traced me down and went to our lab, but no way he could have ever gotten those pictures, because the censors even cut around the figures because they didn't want the Germans to know that those bombs were hitting London. And all I can say is the British people have guts. But I saw, you know, you'd come out and you'd see an old woman shaking her hands to a bomber going over, swearing at him. Oh gosh, Patton. Well, you can just look at this picture and tell what Blood and Guts was like. And his men really liked him, even though you hear a lot of stories. You could always tell when he was coming to headquarters. his Jeep painting. I never had any, problem, as you say, with Patton. And he was always congenial and happy, it seemed, around Ike, as this picture shows. Well, here he's being congratulated by Ike for what he did at Bastogne, and I can still see him coming up on a tank in the snow, and all the tanks with him in the lead. But from what I've seen of Patton, you hear a lot of talk that he was pretty bad when visiting a hospital. But I took some pictures of him going through the hospital and signing autographs on casts and just treating the soldiers as if he was their father. I saw him one day walk through a doorway and lift a soldier up with his two arms and laughed and kid with him and say he was as young as he used to be. This is a picture taken of D-Day. You can see that this is Captain Wall, bent down. He was shot in the leg, lost his leg. And here are two of the fellows in the 165th and another one. Now, I don't know who these people are, but these three individuals were in my outfit. And offhand, I can recognize them, but I can't think of their names. And he was a CO of the 165th being dragged on the beach on D-Day, June 6, 1944. He was one tough captain. He was tough. If we were on a hike and there was a stream and a bridge, well, we had to walk through the stream, not over the bridge, and that was typical of Captain Wall. Well, this is right after the Battle of Bastogne. I think we had a picture of Patton and Bradley and Ike, and this was taken, and he's just looking at the ruins of Bastogne after that. You can see from the background, and I've often said, not only in this city this size, but in these little villages throughout the country where we went through, nothing but shambles. And I've often wondered where these poor civilians went or what they did. But this is Ike after the Battle of Bastogne and the Bulge, and just looking things over. It all started with me, I think. It was, I think, the 5th, where we knew something was going on. And I don't remember the exact dates, when Yodel flew in to the Reims airport, General Yodel, he was the one that was to sign. And I can still remember being driven quickly out to the Reims airport and when the C-47 arrived with Yodel, and got a picture of him getting off the plane, walking across the airstrip and in his car. I shot 3 pictures there real quick. And every picture I think I shot of him, he gave me a dirty look. He was a typical German general, I guess from the old school. He wore this long gray coat. And I'll never forget, I shot a picture of him sitting in the car before it pulled away, and he gave me the dirtiest look. I hope I've been of some help, and you've enjoyed it, and our younger generation is all I can say. War is hell. The only nice part about it, you make some darn good friends.